This conference will now be recorded.
Good afternoon, folks. This is now going to be some more additional tips here for our duck quote training videos. This is going to be about one of our brand new features, the configurator. Now, what is a configurator? Well, it's a way to create bills of materials or parts list without having to draw a system. Now, in this session, we're going to be talking about that configurator. And we've heard from many DuckQuote users that wanted an easily accessible way to get a quick pricing quote for parts, list, or bills of materials. They had the BOM, but they don't need a drawing. The configurator is the answer to that. When does this happen? Well, could be a very small system that don't want to bother drawing, don't need a drawing because it's so simple, or it might be additional parts that they want to add to an existing system. And so instead of drawing the entire system, they're just going to build a list of parts for that add-in. So let's get started. I think everybody knows how to get to a project page. You do have to have a project to use the configurator. So you would go ahead and create your project. This is one of my training projects. And if you look, you will see a brand new button here called New CFG Quote. That stands for Configurator Quote. Now, by clicking on that, we are going to be asked to name. So we're going to call this one Training, let's say 30, and we'll click OK. Now that's the same type of thing as naming your layout, but instead this will be a bill of materials. Now, the first thing to remember is up here at the top, we must pick a product line, okay? Now, the configurator will be a little bit different depending on whether you're looking at the US duck product line. As you recall, that includes rolled lip and flanged products, or we can turn on and have US tubing, and that is our guaranteed leak-free clamp together product. What I'm going to show you today is going to be based on the US duct product line. And the reason for that you'll see in a little while. It allows for some, let's call it oddball parts that the configurator is actually very good at helping you create. So the other thing that I want to show you is that this screen in the configurator is self-optimizing. What does that mean? It means you can use it on a laptop, a desktop, you can use it on a tablet or even your phone, and it will automatically adjust itself. As you can see here, when I make this smaller, we now have the actual bill of materials showing up at the bottom, and our ribbons are where we select things at the top. When we give it a large screen, it puts that bill of materials here on the right. Okay, so let's talk about how we actually choose things, right? Selections are made in these ribbons, and as you can see, when we first open the configurator, it opens with the settings, the duct, the elbow, and the branches ribbons already open and active, okay? So just for clarity, I'm going to close these and talk about them one at a time. Again, the first thing that I want you to understand about these ribbons is they use what we call cascading selection. Now that means that selections made in a higher level ribbon, in other words, higher up on the page, those selections will cascade down to the lower level ribbons when appropriate. So if you need to have all flanged ends in your bill of materials, you would simply here in the settings tab, select which of the types of flanges you would need. If you just need all rolled lip, you can do that here. We're going to stick with rolled lip for now. All right, so this allows you, of course, to build your bill of materials the way that you choose. If you select the end type and diameter, they're both going to cascade down, allowing you to add all of the same size parts, duct, elbows, branches, etc. Or you can go and select all of the duct at once and then move to elbows. Or, well, you get the idea. You get to do it your way. So let's walk through each ribbon one at a time, and we're going to start with the settings ribbon. Now, as you can see, we've got material. That means what the duct is made of. And our choices are galvanized, stainless, or carbon steel. We also have gauges. Now, we can select the standard gauges. That's what you're used to seeing in duct quote. Heavy gauge, which was recently added to duct quote layouts. Or if we select custom, we can choose specific gauges for the parts. We're going to stick with standard for a little bit. Then again, we talked about the end styles, rolled lip, and the various flanges. We can also choose the gasket type for, in this case, that rolled lip, okay? If we have chosen flanged, we can also choose gasket types for the flanged, okay? So with settings set there, let's open up the duct ribbon and let's talk about adding a few things. So you'll see that rolled lip has cascaded down. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add, let's say we're looking for some 6-inch diameter duct, rolled lip on both ends, and I'm going to need 3 pieces, 3 sticks, which you'll notice the length is automatically calculated for me, okay? Now, we can also enter the actual length here. Let's say that we need 16 feet. Notice that it calculates 4 sticks. Now understand, that gives you actually almost 20 feet of duct. You will have to actually manually add the number of sleeves that you would need. Let's say here that we're going to need 2 sleeves. We can now go ahead and click add. When we add, notice we get a green message telling us that it has added these parts. Notice 2 things. It's automatically calculating our temporary metal surcharge. We all know that metal prices are going a little nuts, but it's also automatically adding the clamps for us, and there are the sleeves that we selected. Now let's look at the really nifty thing here. Let's say that we also need a piece of 6-inch diameter duct, but we want the B end to actually have flanged on it. And we only need 1 of these, and we don't need any sleeves for that. If we click add now, notice what we get. We get an additional piece of pipe with the galvanized sleeve. One is a rolled lip and one end has the flange on it, okay? So as you can see, this really is nice for putting those special things in. Another way that you might have done this is simply buy or assign a adapter, a flange adapter. But we've had a lot of folks who actually have tight area that they need to not use up that extra space for the adapter. So they just want to put the flange on the end of the pipe, okay? So now let's take a look at elbows. Well, with elbows, again, we specify diameter. Notice the 6-inch diameter has cascaded down from the duct ribbon, okay? So we're going to keep that. And we're going to be, since it's 6-inch, we have a selection of types. We could do either tubed or stitch welded. We'll stick with stitch welded. And again, we have ends that we can select. Now let's say that we want to actually use one of those elbows with that flanged spot, okay? So we could actually put a flanged piece on the end of that elbow, and let's say it's a 45-degree elbow. We could choose our radius and how many we need. We're just going to need 1 of those. So again, we add. And again, you see, we get a green that says, yes, this is here. We can do that, okay? So just for fun, let's come back and choose a 90-degree elbow as well. And we add that, okay? So lastly, let's close up our elbows and let's put a branch in. All right, so again, notice that our 6-inch has come down. But we can choose whether we want a single, a double, a true pants Y as we call it here, a Y branch, a T branch, that would be a 90-degree, or an end cut. That's where we're putting an end cut, a branch, onto an existing trunk. We're going to just use a single branch this time. And it is going to, in fact, be an 8-inch for the A diameter. This will be rolled lip. And we're going to say that this is going to be 2 6s. So I can choose the other 2 diameters. And again, we have rolled down that they are rolled lip. I can again select one of these to be flanged if I choose. All right. And then we can choose the angle, 45, 30, or 90 for the T branches. And again, if we click add, we get our message that tells us. Now, one of the very nice things is you'll notice that we are in fact getting a description which tells us 8-inch rolled lip, 6-inch rolled lip, and a 6-inch flange. So there's no having to go back and edit that description. It happens right away. All right, so let's try one more thing. Let's close up our branches, and I want to show you where we ask for something that we're not allowed. In other words, we don't have it in the parts list, okay? So this time, instead of standard, we're going to ask for custom gauge, and we're going to open up, and we're going to ask for a 6-inch, and let's just say they're both going to be rolled lip, but for our gauge, we're going to ask for, let's say 14 gauge, okay? And we just want one stick. When we click add, notice we get a button that goes red, and it tells us what gauges this is available in, right? So we can see 22, 18, 16, or 11. Well, 16 is pretty close to 14. So if I come in and select 16, click add, there we go. In it goes. Simple as that. Now, as you saw, we've also got the other branches. We've got flanges, O-rings, and hangers here. And again, you can see the selections that we can make in that ribbon, okay? We've also got adapters, reducers, and terminations. And again, you can see the different items that we can put on the ends of things. Flex hose, again, types of flex hose and size, worm clamps, all of that can be done. Gates, all of those gates that you're used to seeing on our Excel spreadsheet and so forth, available here. And then finally, we have specials. Well, what are specials? Well, part of them would be squared around transitions, and you can see here how you would enter those. Also, things like no loss stacks, rain caps, backdraft dampers, diverter valves, wall flashing, swivel joints, all kinds of things like that, including spark traps, okay? And then, of course, you've got your diameters, your end sizes, and if it's a squared around, how you need that particular flange or no flange, how it will connect on the rectangular end, okay? So that gives you a wonderful walk through our new configurator system. So we're going to take what we've just created, and we could either save it and go back to the project, or we can click and go straight through to the proposal. Now, we've created a bill of materials, so from here, you already know how to use the proposal writer. Here, it's exactly the same as before when you had processed one of your layouts. The only difference is you'll notice the lack of Add 3D Drawing button. That's because there is no drawing, right? So you could still do all of the things in the quote area, still use the process button, simple as that. Well, thanks for listening, and hope you can make great use of this new tool. I know we've been doing it now in a testing period for about 3 to 4 months, and we are loving it. Have a great one.